Cheers and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are talking about Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I hope I'm saying that right. I have been hearing about this book everywhere for the past couple of weeks. Everyone's talking about it, talking about how much they loved it. So I was like, okay, you got me. I ordered it, it came, I read it in like a day and a half. I couldn't put it down. I needed to find out where this story was going. So let's just jump on into talking about it. This is the story of a girl named Mallory. Mallory's had a hard time lately. Things have just not been going the best for her. She ended up in rehab. She's out now. She's a year and a half clean and really feeling good and strong. She's kind of throwing herself into physical activity, doing a lot of running. And just trying to get her life back on track. I just noticed my clothes basket. Hang on. I'm still filming upstairs in my room because I've had an injury. If you saw my previous videos, you've heard about it. Didn't notice the basket there. Anyway, Mallory, she's out of rehab. She's doing good. She's trying to get her life back on track. Thanks to a connection that she has through her sponsor, she ends up interviewing for a job to be a nanny, a live-in nanny, to this 5-year-old little boy named Teddy. She goes for the interview. The mom, Caroline, I believe her name is, she's great. She's very enthusiastic, feeling really positive about Mallory working for them. The dad comes home and he's giving real just weird vibes to Mallory. Like, to him, she's not the right fit, even though he doesn't really know anything about her. So she leaves thinking that, 1, 2, 3. So she leaves thinking that, you know, she blew it. She's not going to get the job, but she finds out really soon that she actually did. The mom loved her, and most importantly, Teddy, the 5-year-old, loved her. They hit it off right off the bat. And of course, if you're a parent looking for a child care worker, that's the most important thing. So she moves into their home, kind of. She lives in a little cottage in the backyard. And, you know, she says it's the nicest place she's ever lived. And she's getting settled in and she really likes it. She quickly learns that Teddy is quite the little artist. And what's really interesting about this is the artwork that the child does is in the book. And here, I'll show you some examples. It starts off pretty... you know, pretty run-of-the-mill, typical stuff for a 5-year-old to be drawing, you know. Some nature scenes, things like that. And, you know, animals playing, having fun. But as time goes on, the drawings start to get a little more, would you say, a little darker, a little more intense. Trying to find an example of one here. Here's one. So you see that woman underneath the table there? This woman starts popping up in the drawings. And you're like, okay. So the parents really don't make a big deal about these drawings, but as time goes on, things just get creepier and creepier with this artwork. Meanwhile, so we've got, you know, Mallory living out in this cottage in the backyard of their property. And one night she meets a neighbor who kind of gives her a heads up, like, I don't know if you know the history of this house you're living in, but back in the day, the woman who lived in that cottage was murdered. Her body never found, but the cabin was filled with blood, so they just knew something terrible had happened to her. So Mallory kind of takes this info and starts to piece it all together. Maybe what Teddy's drawing is some sort of ghost that he's seeing around the house, because the parents tell her that before they lived where they do now, they lived in Barcelona in Spain. They went there for the husband, Ted, his work. And, you know, Teddy didn't really do any drawings in Barcelona, but once they moved back to America, he can't stop drawing. So Mallory gets a little concerned. And then from there, the story just kind of unravels with Mallory trying to find out who or what this kid is drawing, while also trying not to sound insane. Because the parents, when they were interviewing her, like, they've got a lot of rules, like no talk of religion, no red meat. Like, they're a very strict family, and she's afraid that if she tries to tell them that she thinks maybe their small child is being haunted, that they'll think she's nuts or that she's using drugs again, because it sounds crazy. So that's all I'll say before we get into the spoilers. We'll save the spoilers for in a second. But what I'll say is, if that sounds like something that'd be interesting to you, you want to get to the bottom of this sort of mystery. It's definitely not a horror. I've heard some people call it a horror, but it's definitely not. More of like a thriller, bit of a mystery. There's some spooky images and whatnot, but if you're worried about it being too scary, it's not. It's definitely not. I love the cover too. This is I think the North American cover, because I've seen people from the UK talking about it and they have a different cover. But I think it's beautiful. If you can see there, it's a man digging a hole. So now we'll get into a few of the spoilers, because I had a moment where I thought, is this going to go off the rails entirely for me and I'm not going to like it? But I actually did like it. So if you don't want spoilers, get out of here. Okay, so what it ends up, there's a lot of different things at play here. For one, once we find out what's going on. So for one, there is the spirit of a woman sort of haunting the area. But it's not from hundreds of years ago, you know, when the cottage was first built and that woman that the neighbor told her about was murdered there. It's not her. It's a more recent death. So what we find out is that the parents, especially the mom, but both of them, but the mom, are actually the crazy ones. Not Mallory. What has happened is they were trying to conceive for so long and they couldn't have their own baby. So in the town where they used to live, Caroline, the mom, she used to go to the park and she would see this woman there with her little girl every day. And the woman would be painting or checking her phone, and Caroline took it upon herself to think, like, here I am, desperate for a child, and this woman has one and she's not even paying any attention to it. So as time goes on, Caroline kidnaps the child and in the process ends up killing the mother. That's the spirit that's haunting it. In order to not be found out, she decides to cut the child's hair and raise it as a little boy, Teddy. Which, when you read the book, when they got to that point, where it was like, because first what she discovers, Mallory discovers that Teddy's not a little boy, he's a little girl. And I was like, where's this going? What's happening here? But then as we learn and find out, it's because she stole the child and needed a way to sort of keep it under wraps so that they wouldn't get found out, right? So I was like, okay, good, because I thought it was just some weird, some off. I didn't know what I thought was going to happen, but I was glad when that was the explanation. And then it's like, so what ends up happening as well is the neighbor, she was getting a little too close to the truth too, and Caroline killed her. And now that Mallory knows the truth, Caroline's going to kill her. And what she's going to do is she's going to shoot her up with the drug that she's been 18 months sober on, but put some fentanyl in there. And so when the cops come, they'll just be like, well, the drug addict went back to the drugs, and won't look too much into it. So it's a pretty good plan on her part, honestly. And then, but it doesn't, she doesn't end up being able to do that. The husband kind of turns on her, comes busting in. Then he's got all these crazy ideas. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take you. We're going to leave. We're going to leave the kid and my wife here, and I'm going to take you, and we're going to start a new life somewhere else. And Mallory's like, what do you mean? But of course she's not going to say that because she wants to get out of there alive. But she's like, why does this guy think we're going to run away together? Because he had like, I'm going to take care of you. We'll get a new house. It'll all be good. So it was a lot. And then there's the final showdown between Caroline and Mallory over the child. And the ghost of Teddy's biological mother is there to sort of help her. And she manages to sort of take over Teddy's body to stab Caroline with a arrowhead that was found in the woods. And then we get a nice ending. I actually shed a tear at the end. At the very end, you know, a little bit of time has passed and Mallory goes and visits because Teddy, whose real name was Flora, is reunited with her father. Because, of course, to him, she's just been a missing child all this time. So they are reunited, and about a year or so later, Mallory goes to visit, and of course, things are different. Flora's really shy, and she doesn't really talk much, and it's kind of just an awkward reunion. But then as Mallory's leaving, I'll show you this, as Mallory's leaving to go out to the truck with her boyfriend, Flora comes running out behind her and doesn't really say a word, but just puts a picture in her hand, and it's just a picture of the two of them on that day, and Teddy able to be Flora again. So, and it choked me up. I shed a tear. I thought it was great. I had a lot of fun reading it, honestly, and I know it sounds crazy to tell it to you like this, but if you've already read it, you know. But yeah, if you don't like supernatural elements, because some people love thrillers, but they don't love when there's those supernatural elements in there. I love it. I don't mind that at all. I think you'd like this. Otherwise, probably give it a pass, but yeah, I would definitely recommend. I think I gave it 4 stars or 5 stars on Goodreads. I thought it was great. I thought it was... I didn't really have any complaints. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you have read this, and if you have, what you thought of it. And I will see you guys again real soon. Bye.